forward.
The Florida Marlins are in town, and they're angry. The Mets are trying to build their anger back, but are more focused on the Phillies, with whom they're tied in the standings going into the final day. At Shea Stadium in New York, the CW11 presents New York Mets baseball. Today, the Mets play the Florida Marlins. And going into the final day of the regular season, the Mets and the Phillies in a flat-footed tie up atop the National League East. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Shea Stadium. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling, Keith Hernandez with you today as the Mets play game number 162. And as you can probably hear behind us, the atmosphere is absolutely electric. The fans are on edge. The players are trying to stay calm and trying to get their game faces on. But this is what it comes down to. If the Mets and Phillies both win today, and the Phillies play a half hour later than the Mets at home against Washington, if they both win or both lose today, then there'll be a one-game playoff in Philadelphia tomorrow. There's also the possibility of 3- and 4-way ties that would involve the wild card as well. We'll get more into that later on. But for right now, this is not a typical last game of the season for the Florida Marlins as they try and spoil the Mets' chances because of what transpired here yesterday.
Yeah, they were angered by some of the histrionics of the Mets yesterday, and it resulted in, you see Garcia trying to almost hit Castillo, threw one behind him. That started a bench-clearing brawl, and the Marlins came out today. Hanley Ramirez said, who got hit earlier in the game, if I had a broken leg, I want to play against these guys. I hate these guys, and Olivo against Reyes turned into a big fight.
Meanwhile, the words of Hanley Ramirez were posted in the tunnel from the Mets clubhouse to the dugout with the words underneath it, somebody pays today. So clearly there's some bad blood here, and that could influence what happens here today and how this game has been played. Meanwhile, down in Philadelphia, the Phillies went into yesterday with a one-game lead, and all of a sudden things got a little tight for them.
Well, I tell you what, they played so long catching up to the Mets, and they finally caught up, and then they overtook them, and all of a sudden the tables were reversed, and Philly played a very tight ball game yesterday. I think today this is like a 7th game of a World Series. Like Gary said, this crowd is electric right now. We haven't heard this kind of seen this kind of electricity in a long time. This is for all the marbles here. They don't want a game on Monday. Someone wants to win it, and we'll see what happens. I think the playing field is level right now. I think both teams will come out loose, play hard, and my feeling is there's going to be a game Monday.
Well, down in Philadelphia, 44-year-old Jamie Moyer goes to the mound for the Phillies. Here at Shea, it's 41-year-old Tom Glavine. It seems as though those guys have crossed paths. Today, they're doing it 90 miles apart.
Yeah, and Glavine's coming off 2 tough starts, so he's going to have to be much better today. Going against Dontrelle Willis for the Marlins, who has struggled all season long, 10-15. But Dontrelle 5-0 here at Shea Stadium, also have to contend with his hitting ability.
Last time Dontrelle was here, he not only won the game, he hit a couple of home runs. That was last season. Now it's the Mets and the Marlins, game number 162. It's all on the line and all the action on the CW11.
Turn up the volume.
Tom Glavine knows what this territory is like, pitching with everything at stake. As he takes the mound for his 34th start of the year. The keys to the game brought to you by your local BMW dealers.
Well, yes, they have their best lineup in against the Southpaws. We saw it against the Washington pitchers, and Glavine, after 2 rough starts, really needs to come up with a big effort here today. And Will is 5-0 at Shea. The last time he pitched, not last time, but one of the times he pitched here in 06, hit a grand slam home run, so you got to deal with his hitting also.
Well, you know, Ronnie and I were talking that we don't really miss the game as we look at the lineup, but this is a game I'd like to play in.
Here's your Toyota starting lineup for the Marlins. Hanley Ramirez, the best average in the National League against left-handers, and he's in there despite getting hit on the hand yesterday. X-rays were negative, and he vowed he'd be there today, and he is. Miguel Olivo was suspended for 5 games for his actions yesterday in charging Reyes, but he is appealing. He is eligible, but not in the lineup. Matt Trainer catches Dontrelle Willis.
Well, Tommy Glavine with those 13 wins now, that's the 16th time he's won 13 or more. He leads the team in starts, leads the team in innings.
And the Nissan Metsi defense. Millage, of course, with the 2 bombs yesterday, is back out there in right field. And LaDuca with the tender knee. Castro with the home run yesterday. Both guys haven't started in a while. Answered nicely. Castro behind the plate.
It is very loud, as you might be able to tell here at Shea Stadium. Very much a postseason atmosphere for the final regular season game, at least for the moment. Hanley Ramirez leads off, and he hits the first pitch, blooping it foul beyond Delgado's reach. 0-1. And Ramirez went up there thinking, I'm going to hit the first pitch of the game for a home run.
Well, he's an angry man, and you read the quotes, and you never want, I know sleeping dogs leave them lie. You got a last place team here, and the Mets, who haven't won and finally won a ball game last night, and a little bit of the antics in front of on-deck circle after Millich's home run.
Old foul, and it's 0-2 to Ramirez, who is just up there in complete hacking mode.
Well, that's favorable for Glavine.
No question. This is a team that he normally should pitch well against because of their aggressiveness anyway, and clearly Ramirez in the first at bat looking to be very aggressive. And that one fooled Castro, and it's 1-2.
What happened there?
That looked like it hit Ramirez.
That hit him.
It came off the knob of the bat, I believe.
He's asking Joe West, it hit me. That hit him right on the wristband.
What is Joe thinking?
Well, he thought it was a foul ball, apparently. Certainly, if he did hit him, it was almost in the strike zone.
Yeah.
And a changeup just off the plate. Ramirez stopped that swing in plenty of time. Ed Rapuano with the call, and it's 1-2.
You look at Glavine's reaction here. He's pointing to the first base umpire. Well, you'd be on the bench saying, stop begging. And there is no lost love between these two teams today.
And the changeup misses, and it's 2-2.
I think it should be addressed early on here. Joe West, the home plate umpire, very conservative strike zone. He's worked a couple games with Glavine already this year. Has not given him that strike zone Glavine is accustomed to.
And Ramirez takes it wide, 3-2.
Well, one thing's for certain, El Duque is going to be prominent today. If Glavine doesn't get it deep in the ball game, I believe El Duque is going to be.
Now wait a second, they're giving Ramirez first base, but that would mean
they called it a ball.
That they called the ball that hit his hand or his bat a ball. It had to be either a foul ball or a hit batsman, but they called it neither. The last pitch is ball 4, but it's the one earlier in the count that Ramirez thought he got hit on that apparently was called a ball in order to make that ball 4. That can't be a ball. It's either a strike, a foul ball, or a hit batsman.
Exactly.
We now move ahead in the inning.
1-1 to Uggla with Ramirez aboard. And Uggla hits it slowly. Castillo comes in, gets the force, and Reyes gets out of the way. No chance to turn 2 as slowly as that ball was hit. That's the first out of the game.
We now move ahead in the inning.
The last time that two teams went into the final day of the season tied with neither team having the wild card as a fallback was 1993, when the Braves and Giants went to the final day tied with 103 wins each. Who pitched for the Braves that day? Tom Glavine. Hit to the right side and through the hole, and Uggla will go to second, turn there, head for third. Millage makes the throw, and it's cut off. And the Marlins have runners at first and third and 1 out. Millage did a good job keeping that throw low enough to be cut off.
Ball away. Glavine's got good command right now. It's a good changeup away and good hitting by Armida. Got it up a little bit, but you got that hole there. That's good situational hitting, and that's the risk that Glavine takes throwing that changeup to a left-hand hitter with a runner on first base.
So runners at the corners and 1 out, and a first inning threat for the Marlins with their best hitter Miguel Cabrera coming up. Cabrera just 1 for 6 in this series, but in the top 10 in the league in all 3 Triple Crown categories. 4th in the league in runs batted in with 118. The infield at double play depth, and Cabrera takes it wide. In '93, Glavine pitched the final day against the Colorado Rockies, went 6 1/3 innings, allowed 3 runs. The Braves won that day. The Giants with Solomon Torres lost to the Dodgers, and the Giants went home despite winning 103 games. That was the last year that we played without the wild card. Grounded to the hole and a base hit, and the Marlins take the early lead. Uggla comes in to score. It's an RBI single for Cabrera, his 119th run batted in, and Florida takes the early 1-0 lead.
Well, I'll tell you what, Garrett, it's good hitting back-to-back. Another good pitch by Glavine. Down, change up, and Cabrera can just hit. And we'll find out. Look at that. That is a good pitch.
Although, Keith, not a nice sign when you're making your pitches and they're base hits. That's the same thing happened to Glavine in the first inning of his last start against Washington.
We now move ahead in the inning.
Tom's having a hard time finding his rhythm, and a lot of this is due to the Marlins hitters being very patient and showing a good knowledge of the strike zone, making Tom throw a strike.
Hermida and Cabrera, the base runners, with one out. A run already home for Florida. And Ross lifts one to right. A long run from Millage over toward the line. He won't get there, and it rolls all the way to the wall.
Hermida will score. Cabrera is right on his heels and heading home. Castillo's throw. Castro can't handle it. Heading for third is Ross. Glavine makes the throw there and throws it into left field. Ross comes home to score, and it's 4-0 Florida. The wheels come off early.
Wow.
A double for Ross, 2 RBIs, third on the throw, and then the error on Glavine brings home another run.
Well, into the corner here. Cabrera does the bad base running here. He should have scored easily. But you see, Castro couldn't find the handle. Cabrera was late breaking. We'll get to it. And he went through a stop sign, did he not?
Yes.
See Glavine backing up the play, and when the ball got free from Castro, he was in the right position, and he just executed poorly and threw it away.
We now move ahead in the inning.
This team is being very patient.
Well, they can't afford to give up any more in this inning.
I agree.
And if Willie needs to pull the plug early, he's going to have to do it.
I think Sosa would be your inning kind of pitcher coming in, but Del Duque maybe starting in an inning later.
And Trainer takes it off the plate, ball 4. And that's the second walk of the inning.
It all began with the walk to Hanley Ramirez, and going back to that, remember that he walked on what should have been ball 3, and there was no protest from the Mets. And you're going to have to find out after the game exactly what Joe West considered that pitch that either hit Ramirez's bat or his arm, but it clearly was an umpiring mistake any way you slice it. And the inning has tumbled down from there for Glavine.
But the way it played out, it evened out because he was hit by the pitch.
Except I disagree in this way, Keith, is that I'm sick of these hitters who can lean over where a pitch is almost a strike, and that could have been called a strike and it become a hit by pitch, but that's a moot point because they allow him to do it.
Well, one way or another, it wasn't a ball, and it was clearly ruled a ball.
Yeah.
So it obviously doesn't have an impact on giving up 4 straight hits and another walk, but it began this inning, and it has fallen apart from there. And now Glavine needs to find it very quickly, or this game is going to be completely out of hand. 2 on and 1 out. Alejandro De Aza getting a rare start against a lefty, and he takes ball 1.
Yeah, other than Hanley Ramirez, who came out hacking, the rest of the hitters have been very, very patient for these Florida Marlins with a game plan.
Line the other way, a base hit. Jacobs goes to third. He'll be held up there, and the bases are loaded. Wow. 5 hits and 2 walks in the inning. And now Dontrelle Willis, who's anything but an automatic out, will come up with the bases loaded and 1 out.
We now move ahead in the inning.
Interesting thing about the Ramirez play is just that only protest has come from here.
And the funny thing is, after ball 4, Ramirez stayed in the box because he assumed it was ball 3 as well. 1-2 to Willis. Breaking ball inside, and it hit him, and that forces in a run. And it's 5-0 Florida. And it just can't get any worse. And Willie Randolph is going to pull the plug right here. Now, David Wright is saying Joe West should ask the third base umpire whether Willis swung at that last pitch. And now
no.
West is finally asking C.B. Buckner, who's shaking his head no.
He's just trying to get out of the way. And that got him on his left forearm, and he's got a pitch, so we'll keep an eye on that.
And Tom Glavine has boos rained down on him as he takes his exit.
A third of an inning,
5 runs in, leaving with the bases loaded in what might be his last ever appearance as a New York Met. Oh, look at Hanley Ramirez. He struck out.
Okay, that's fine.
Oh, boy. Well, the Marlins have nothing to play for except the joy of knocking the Mets off today, and they're certainly enjoying themselves so far. Sosa in danger of forcing in another run. 3-0 to Ugla. And there's a strike.
Oh, close. Well, let's see if Ugla stays disciplined. That's a strike, in my opinion, Ronnie. They don't call it.
No.
Well, let's see if Ugla stays within himself here.
You have to watch now, too. You don't want to show up Joe West, the home plate umpire.
No. This is a great pitch to hit. You're looking for a fastball. Anything with a wrinkle, you're taking.
3-1 to Ugla. Ripped down the left field line. That'll get at least 2 more runs home. Trainer scores. De Aza scores. Willis to third. He'll be held up there. It's a 2-run double for Ugla. The Marlins have put up 7 runs in the top of the first inning. And the Mets are in danger of seeing their season end today.
Well, the old fastball fell behind 3-0. Had to come in with the fastball, and Ugla on it like a cheap suit.
All
Wow.
7 runs charged to Glavine, and he's still responsible for Willis standing at third. Jeremy Hermida, the 12th man up in the inning. Singleton scored earlier, and he takes a slider for a strike. Well, they're just about to start the game in Philadelphia, and the Phillies have to be just beside themselves with glee at seeing what has happened here.
How about a shot in the arm?
Off the corner, and it's 1-1. And for all the talk about playoffs and 4-way ties and all the scenarios, Mets are down 7-0 before they come to bat.
Jamie Moore is not going to even take his extra Jerdal before this game.
Wow, it's a long way to go. But with John Trell Willis on the hill, spotting him 7 runs, it's going to be tough.
Foul back. Well, the Mets have not come from 7 runs down to win a game in ages. Well, they did in that famous game against the Braves here, in which they were down 8-1 in the 8th inning and scored 10 runs in an inning, and Piazza hit the 3-run homer. But those things don't happen very often. 1-2 now to Hermida. And he reaches forward and fouls it off. Miguel Cabrera waiting on deck for his second turn. Glavine threw 36 pitches. Sosa's thrown 14 more. That's 50 pitches here in the top of the first.
Ooh.
And it's not over yet.
This is another big RBI right here. 2 out there to drive in.
Fouled it off. I mean, if you're the team on the receiving end of this, with everything that is at stake today, what do?
You chip away. You come in there and you say, come on, it's not. We got 9 innings.
Keep your heads up.
Let's just get Peck away and get back in this ballgame. Pitchers, let's go. Hold us here. We'll get it back.
Would you like to go down there? And
I'm sorry. I got fired up. Sorry. I'm sorry.
1-2 to Hermida. And he pulls it down to first. Delgado handles it. And the ugliness of the top of the first inning finally comes to an end. 12 men come to bat. And Tom Glavine's potential last ever start ends in disaster.
We now move to the bottom of the first.
Now Dontrelle Willis with a 7-0 lead before he takes the mound. There's your starting lineup for the Mets, brought to you by Toyota. A smart way to keep moving forward. Mets will have to hope they can score the way they did yesterday when they put up 13 runs, matching their season high, and 19 hits, which was a season high. Well, may need all of that today.
Well, Dontrelle, you see what he's done against left-handers. It's right-handed hitters that are wearing him out.
Jose Reyes takes a strike.
Well, he's coming off that brilliant pitching performance against the Cubs, Ronnie.
One and one to Reyes, who had himself quite an eventful day yesterday. First, not running out a ground ball, which drew the ire of the fans, and then getting involved in the brawl with Olivo, which made him a hero again. 2-1 to Reyes. Jose has struggled through the latter stages of this season. Castillo has not. He's had 3 hits each of the last 2 days. And Willis misses, ball 3. The Mets beat Dontrelle and beat him badly here back in April.
Got to come after him.
And there's strike 3 and 2. Then he pitched a better game against the Mets 10 days ago in Florida, matched up with Glavine in that game, gave up 3 runs in 6 innings. In the air to right center field, and Hermida gets over. And Reyes retired for the first out. So 1 out and nobody on.
And there is your Marlin defense, brought to you by Nissan. And Jacobs, Ugla, Ramirez, Cabrera. Ross is in there against the left-hander. Well, it was a left-hander in there in Glavine.
We now move ahead in the inning.
His problem, Gary and Keith, is a lot like a young Dwight Gooden. They have a lot of movement in their when they have their delivery.
Pulled over the bag and a base hit for Castillo. Ross chases it to the corner, and Castillo into second with a 1-out double. So the Mets begin the long climb back.
How about the 3 days that Castillo's had here against his old mates, the Marlins?
Well, Castillo just rips that high fastball. Right-handed, Castillo is a high ball hitter. Stays very level. Watch the level swing. Right in that nice swing on a belt-high fastball. Beautiful.
We now move ahead in the inning.
Bobby Bonilla called the press box after that 7-run top of the first to complain about an error being called on him, and then told a fib about why he had called after the game. That was the beginning of the end at Shea for Bonilla first time around. Dribbled Willis off the mound. Play by Trainer, though. The throw to first is not in time as Castillo held at third, and wisely so, because had Castillo broken, they might have had a play on him. But to avoid it, Castillo held, and Beltran is safe at first.
Well, the third baseman stays back, doesn't charge, and thus didn't allow Castillo to come down the line. Nice hustle by Beltran. So he looks back to see.
Wow, digging.
So Beltran has an infield hit on that little roller, and now the Mets have runners at the corners with 2 out.
And
Beltran stretching out that quad and that knee and all the ailments that have been giving him trouble. Alou 2 for 8 in this series, and it gets away, and here comes Castillo with the Mets' first run of the game. Right through the 5-hole on Matt Trainer, and now it's 7-1. That's exactly what the Mets needed, to put something on the board here in the bottom of the first.
well, Trainer just didn't get down. He got lazy.
It's a wild pitch charge to Willis, his 9th of the year. Now Beltran in scoring position for Alou. And Alou grounds it toward the hole. Grabbed by Ramirez. The long throw not in time. Quite a play by Hanley Ramirez just to save the run. And he almost got Alou, but The Mets have their second consecutive infield hit.
Well, they're here to play. Ramirez hustling in the hole, and that's a big. I thought he was going to eat it. He had no chance to throw out Alou. But boy, just to keep the ball in the infield.
It's quite a throw, too. I mean, falling away like that to make that throw on target.
We now move ahead in the inning.
And a year that's been not his finest for Carlos might be his most important at bat for the Mets this season.
1-1. Oh, and it hit him. But did he swing? Delgado is hurt. Ray Ramirez out to look at him. Did they call it a hit batsman or did they call it a swing? I couldn't tell. They just checked with C.B. Buckner. He said no swing, so it's a hit batsman and the bases are loaded.
Oh, they got him on the under. To get him in the hand?
Yeah,
wrist.
looks like on the wrist.
That's a tough spot to get hit. That is a tough spot to get hit.
Hard to stay in the game on this one. That's an X-ray waiting to happen.
Out. Well, there's no question that both teams are amped up here.
And Delgado's going to try and stay in. Clearly in a great deal of pain after taking that pitch off his left wrist. But now the Mets with a chance to get right back in this game. Trailing 7-1 in the first inning. Bases loaded and 2 down. And Ramon Castro, who has homered in each of his last 2 starts and has 2 career homers off Willis in 11 career at-bats, steps to the plate.
Straight up in the defense.
And Castro takes inside, ball 1. Ramon has 11 home runs and only 140 at-bats. Yep. Willis has given up 29 home runs this year. Off the plate, and it's 2-0.
Well, Willis's problem has been his control all year.
His mechanics are just out of sync.
And again, the delay. He threw a couple of light tosses while Delgado was being examined, but didn't really throw any pitch in earnest to stay sharp. And Castro drives it to deep left field. Back goes Ross onto the track. He has room to make the catch. Castro thought he might have gotten a hold of it, but Ross able to retreat and grab it, and the Mets are held to just a single run in the bottom of the first. We go to the second, 7-1, Florida.
Action resumes in the bottom of the second.
Willis really fighting himself with his control.
Well, they keep shaking his head like he's fine, but that's kind of like trying to pump himself up that he's fine, because he's not right now.
Well, they better keep this ball down here, this fastball down to Castillo.
They've gone to the third in Philadelphia. Still Phillies 1, Nationals nothing.
You've got David Wright in the on-deck circle. This is the man he wants.
3-1 to Castillo, and it's ball 4. Second walk of the inning, and now Wright will come up with 2 men on. And Willis doesn't have much of a clue where it's going right now.
Watch his front shoulder, the right shoulder of Willis. As soon as he's going to deliver it, see how it flies open. See it open there right away? That shoulder has to stay closed for at least another count before he delivers that ball to the plate. If you don't, what I mean by keeping it closed, the right shoulder closed, that shoulder's got to stay pointed at the first base bag. One more count before you go to the plate. If you don't, shoulder flies open. What happens? The ball is going to be up and away to the right-handed hitter every single time. Right shoulder open, ball away and up to the right-handed hitter.
Well, look at Ugla moving over to right field a little more. Hasn't done it the whole series.
2 out and 2 on, and Wright takes it high and wide, and Willis continues to struggle on that side of the plate. David has done very well against Dontrell over the years. 14 for 38. That's over 370. And he takes a fastball for a strike. 1-1. Actually, I overstated it. 368.
Well, David's been going to right field. I mentioned that about Uggla moving over finally, particularly against David.
1-1. Shoots it foul.
It's just apparent that David's whole approach is the opposite field.
Carlos Beltran on deck. Well, the Mets had a first inning chance with 2 out. Now they're trying not to waste one in the second. Village at second, Castillo at first with 2 down. 1-2 to right. Up and away, 2-2. Ryan Giles is homered for the Padres in the top of the first. They lead Milwaukee 1-0. The Padres win, they clinch the wild card. 2-2 to right. Breaking ball, swing and a miss. He struck him out. Big strikeout for Dontrell Willis, his first of the afternoon, and the Mets have stranded 5 in the first 2 innings, down 7-1.
We now fast forward to the bottom of the 3rd.
Teams that are in last place on the last day of the season, you know what they're thinking about? They got their plane flights out of LaGuardia, can't wait to go home. They can sleepwalk through these kind of games.
Not anymore. 2-0 to Millage with 2 on. And it's ball 3. A walk would load the bases and bring up LaDuca.
There it is.
Let's tell the people at home the score is 8-0 at this time.
Well, it's something this ball club's done for 2 years now.
Well, it wasn't just the celebration, but it was also, and we didn't show it yesterday, that Millage lingered in the batter's box, admiring the home run. Even before that, 3-0, and he walked him, and the bases are loaded. 5 walks in 2 2/3 by Dontrell Willis, and the Mets, who have left 5 runners on base in the first 2 innings, have another crack with the bases loaded, with LaDuca coming up to pinch hit.
This is unbelievable.
Got to get a hit here.
Don't need a home run, but you need a run or 2. And that's going to be it for Dontrell Willis. How about that?
I agree 100%.
So Willis struggling with his control, working with a 7-1 lead, though, and they're taking him out in the 3rd inning.
We now move ahead in the inning.
After Paul got drilled on that knee the other night, he could barely stride to swing a bat. And that's why he was held out of the lineup yesterday and today. Paul's been a crowd favorite here at Shea for his 2 years as a Met. Maybe playing his last game as a Met. 2-2 from Kensing. Breaking ball down, 3-2. Good job by LaDuca to lay off.
There's Paul down. Great job by holding out that bat, and these fans imploring the Mets to get back into this game.
Well, Cowbell man is on the scene.
Got to keep the ball away here. LaDuca's been real quick inside.
Merry-go-round will be in motion. 3-2. Check swing tapper. And Kensing's got it. Makes the play to first. Side retired. LaDuca didn't mean to swing at the 3-2 slider. And the Mets are turned aside again. 8 left on base in the first 3 innings.
Action continues in the top of the 5th.
Guys, it's interesting. You've been talking all broadcast about how fired up the Marlins are today and how that fight and the comments by Hanley Ramirez got them charged up. But you would never know it being in their clubhouse before the game. Things were very, very serene. Now, I wasn't in there for long. Of course, I was in the Mets clubhouse and then listening to Willie Randolph and such. But I talked to Anthony Reber of Newsday, who was basically camped out in there, just wanted to see if Hanley Ramirez would have any comments today. He didn't, but his teammates said, you know what, that was all misplaced anger. The only reason he was upset because he wants to be a 30-30 man, and he thought that hand injury would keep him out today. So it's interesting. All this talk about beating the Mets, teammates said secretly that they said, no, it's all personal. He just wanted to be a 30-30 guy.
Well, that would explain those 2 hard swings to start the game, trying for his 30th home run. Matt Trainer is 0 for 1 on a walk. And it's 2-0.
I don't believe it. I just think that certain things are kept away from the media, and they don't want to know the media, and particularly the New York media, looking for a bigger story. I think that was just kept in-house, Ronnie. They're angry at the Mets.
Now, there's a few teams that are angry at the Mets, and they're taking it out on them today.
Ross at first and 1 out, and Trainer takes high. Now Schoenweiss behind 3-0.
And don't forget, it's not, you know, we talk about the histrionics that go on sometimes with the Mets. It's not only that. Teams, when they're in the bottom, don't like the teams that win all the time. And the Mets, 97 wins last year, and on top most of the year this year, can cause that resentment also.
And he walked him on 4 pitches. So Trainer walks for the second time today.
We now move ahead in the inning.
De Aza getting the start today against the left-hander. A little surprising, although he is their best defensive center fielder.
Well,
Todd Linden on deck to pinch hit.
While he was in there, fly ball outs from Dontrelle Willis, probably one of the good center fielder out there.
Lined over short, a base hit for De Aza. Around third, Ross, he'll score. Now Lou has to go down to get it. Stopping at third is Trainer, and into second with an RBI double is De Aza, and it's 8-1 Florida. And that is a killer tack-on run for the Mets.
It certainly is, and it's a high fastball up, and give De Aza credit here. He went right with it, belt high, beautiful swing. And that is a huge tack on, and second and third, 1 out, and there goes Willie.
So Schoenweiss pitched a spotless 4th, but ran into trouble here in the 5th. 2 hits and a walk. A run is in, second and third and 1 out, and Willie's going to take the ball and hand it off to Joe Smith.
We now fast forward to the bottom of the 9th.
And most of them rooting right up to the final 3 outs.
That's why you got to love Met fans, I'll tell you. A lot of teams in baseball, their fans will be gone, not these.
Anderson pops it up. Hanley Ramirez looking through the sun. 1 out. Well, among those who have been greatly responsible for bringing these productions to you here on SNY and the CW11 all year long, our producer Greg Picker, our director Bill Webb, Dan Barr and Tony Lanny in the truck, our technical manager Ed Ryan, who works unbelievably hard to bring the broadcast to you from the technical side, our tech director Jason Lobb, and let's not forget our partners at the CW11 too, Steve Oldbaum, who does a great job over there. There are dozens and dozens of people whom you never see who bring these games to you. On the ground to second, and Uggla throws out Reyes, who hears the boos for the final time, and the Mets are down to their final out.
We now move ahead in the inning.
This is a franchise that is going to have to regroup in 2008. They certainly expected to play October baseball in 2007, and it certainly appears that that will not happen. Swing and a miss. He struck him out, and barring a huge Washington rally in Philadelphia in the 9th inning, the greatest late September collapse in the history of Major League Baseball is now complete. The Mets, unless Washington can get at least 5 in the 9th inning, will not play October baseball in 2007.
Well, a Florida team, a last place team that was ready to fold, as most teams do late in the year, have a bullpen sprinting in from left field. Lots of congratulations all around.
They are standing and cheering in Philadelphia and waving white towels because the score of this game has been posted there. And so the Philadelphia fans know now that if Brett Myers can get 3 outs in the top of the 9th, the Philadelphia Phillies will be the champions of the National League East for 2007. And heartiest congratulations to them. They have done as much to win it as the Mets have done to lose it.
Well, they've earned it, as you said, Gary, and they had a terrific finish. They just kept applying the pressure on the Mets, and when the Mets were on their losing streak, they kept winning and just compounded the pressure put on the Mets, and it is a hugely disappointing end to the season.
One out in the top of the ninth in Philadelphia. And the sellout crowd at Citizens Bank Park is waving the white towels incessantly now. And the Mets have nothing to wave but a white flag.
The white towel's been thrown in.
Well, a hugely disappointing season. There's just no other way to slice it. A 7-game lead with 17 games to go. And even at that, this is a team that it certainly appeared felt as though they could flip the switch anytime they had to. They stayed in front for 4.5 months. But when they really needed to flip that switch the final 2 weeks of the season and put it into overdrive, there was no gas left in the tank.
Well, I think they, from top to bottom, to the very top of the organization, to the players, committed the sin of hubris. You know, how far the mighty have fallen. Pride goeth before a fall.
And I think that even some of the quotes that we read the last week of the season were very telling. To hear Met players say on the record, we're so good that sometimes we get bored. That was Carlos Delgado. That was Pedro Martinez. That's really hard to believe that major league players would say that, and now they won't be bored. They'll just be inactive in the month of October.
Yeah, to not believe that at some point you had to force the issue. And look at this young fan. Just hate to see that.
Well, Met fans invest so much passion in their team. And I think that they felt that perhaps in 2007, at times, that passion was not returned.
Well, the one thing that happens, it is too much focus today in this game, I think, on statistics. And you know what? The game's got to be won on the field. There's a human element in baseball. Just like in war, you can have all your high-tech strategic bombings, but guess what? What wins the wars are the grunts in the trenches.
There are 2 outs now in the top of the 9th inning. Nobody on base for the Nationals. And the Phillies are 1 out away from clinching the National League East. It is a day for tears for Mets fans as we check out the Jeep game summary. Tom Glavine, an almost incomprehensible performance today. He retired only 1 batter. He gave up 7 runs. The worst performance of his major league career came at the worst possible time for the New York Mets. And so the season ends in heartbreak for the Mets, who let a 7-game lead get away in the final 2.5 weeks of the season. The Marlins win it 8-1. So the 2007 season comes to a close. For Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling, Kevin Burkhardt, and our entire SNY and CW11 crew, I'm Gary Cohen saying see you in Port St. Lucie in March.
I'm Lavernius Coles, and you're watching Sportsnet New York. Get your New York sports here.
Coming up on Sports Night.
Swing and a miss. He struck him out. And barring a huge Washington rally in Philadelphia in the 9th inning, the greatest late September collapse in the history of Major League Baseball is now complete.
What did I just say? It's over with. We lost.
We that up.
We were too good to finish like this.
Curveball struck him out. The Phillies are National League East champions.
Analysis, breakdown, and more on the Mets' historic collapse. Sports Night starts right now.
This is a tough time for the Mets.
From SNY's headquarters at Rockefeller Center West, this is Sports Night.
From the heart of New York, welcome to Sports Night. I'm Kevin Connors. There will be a 1-game playoff in the National League, but it won't involve the Mets. Their season is over. Mets and Marlins. Great as he's been over the course of his career, Mets fans will remember Tom Glavine for his total meltdown Sunday. Top 1, Cody Ross doubles to deep right field. Jeremy Hermida scores to make it 2-zip. Miguel Cabrera to make it 3-zip. The throw home gets away from Ramon Castro, and then it turns into Keystone Cops. Glavine throws it away, trying to get Ross at third. He comes all the way around to score. Marlins took a 4-0 lead. 2 more singles and a walk later, bases juiced. This is rock bottom. Glavine hits Dontrell Willis with the pitch, forces in a run. Mets down 5-0. That'd do it for Glavine, and that does it for the Mets. They go on to lose 8-1, no October baseball at Shea. On September 12th, the Mets were 82-61. Over the final 19 games, they went 6-13. Yesterday, just the second time in Glavine's career, he failed to pitch out of the first inning. One day after scoring 13 runs on 19 hits, Met bats combined for 1 run on 5 hits. Omar and Willie meet the press.
We got into a slump. We pressed a lot, and I do believe that you know, when you get into those areas, you get outside your game. You don't play your game. I think when you get into those slumps, you press, and I think what happens, we as a team pressed.
It's just a tough life lesson in baseball. You know, anytime you have an opportunity to, you know, finish the deal and capitalize on it, you know, come back to haunt you, and it sure did with us. We had an opportunity to many times to, you know, put people away, and for whatever reason, you know, a lot of different reasons why in the course of a long season, but you know, I think you think back more on that we had, you know, a situation in hand for the most part, and didn't play well at the right times, and times didn't play smart, didn't execute, or whatever it might be. The bottom line is that, you know, we split away a big opportunity to win a division. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough winter dealing with that.
You know, it's still a team that won 88 games. It's still a team that was in first place most of the year, and I do believe that you know, we will bounce back, and I think that we have the nucleus to continue to be a competitive ball club.
90 miles away in Philly, it might as well have been a world away. World of difference and emotions. Philly exploded when Brett Myers fanned Willie Mopena, the Fightin' Phils division champs, headed to the playoffs for the first time since 1993. Jimmy Rollins predicted they'd be celebrating back in January. As we begin October, he's right.
It's just a testament to the character of the guys on this team. Nobody ever gave up, and nobody ever thought that we couldn't do this. And, you know, we had big games, big series, and guys stepped up from 1 through 9 in the order, the pitching staff, the bullpen, the guys on the bench, and stepped up in big situations to make this possible.
It's a great feeling. We've overcome a lot of adversity this year, and it's been exciting. Obviously, this past week has been awesome. And, you know, these fans out here are a big part of our success. Hopefully they stick around for the playoffs.
Shock, sadness, disbelief, you name it. Shea Stadium was like a ghost town following this monumental collapse. The Mets closed the season losing 12 of 17, 9 of their last 10 at Shea. Willie tried a little of everything, but in the end, nothing seemed to work. Gary Apple has more.
In all my years covering baseball in this town, I have never been in a more universally dejected locker room than this Mets locker room was today. I saw Beltran and Castillo sitting side by side, almost motionless with their heads down, trying to comprehend what has gone down here over the last couple of weeks. In a single word, the Mets are devastated.
You know, I think David said it best. The fans deserve better. The front office deserves better. Everybody deserves better. We played like crap.
When they got 7 in the first inning.
It's scary. It's over with. We lost. It's over with.
But was it deflating when they got
what did I just say, Gary? It's over with. We lost. What do you want to say? You can point to a zillion things. It doesn't matter the 7-run first inning. We can go back to July when we lost this. We can go back to 2 weeks ago. We had every chance, and we didn't get it done.
We f***ed that up as a team, and that's plain and simple.
Could you have imagined this going down the way?
No, I did not. I did not.
Why do you think, what happened in your opinion?
I don't know. You guys go figure it.
What was the glaring problem? What was it? Was it the fact that the starters couldn't go past 5 innings? The bullpen was overtaxed. The bullpen wasn't very good. What was the catalyst?
I think you just about named it all. I mean, I think it was anywhere from pitching to hitting to defense to you name it. At one time, it was everything.
We don't like what happened. You know, we didn't exactly, you know, play our best the last couple of weeks, and it wasn't today that, you know, lost the season for us. It's just, you know, how it happened, and it's disappointing. It's, and it's, you know, it's just not acceptable.
This is a tough time for the Mets, just because, you know, we were too good to finish like this, and it's going to be a lesson for us. It's going to make us tougher, and we're going to bounce back.
The Mets now have many months to try and digest exactly what went down. They also must digest the fact that they are now a part of baseball history. At Shea Stadium, I'm Gary Apple, SNY.
Slip sliding away went the Mets' 7-game cushion back on September 12th. The Phils cut 3 off the lead with a sweep at Shea. Actually took over the division lead Friday night. The Mets pulled even again Saturday, but Sunday they gave it right back. Seth Everett, who's to blame?
That team was built to win, and they were in first place. 7 games with 17 days to play. That's not an issue where you look at the roster and say something was wrong. What happened was the flaws on that team got exposed. And then the next step was people started to play badly. And then all of a sudden you're in this position where it's an exacerbated slump, and there was no pulling out of it. Then the finger pointing started, and it just seemed to have a downward spiral, down effect that all of a sudden really hurt the franchise a lot more than we thought.
Whose September swoon hurt most? Was it Jose Reyes, a .296 average through August? The Mets' leadoff man hit .205 in September. Tom Glavine allowed 17 runs over his final 3 starts. And what about that record at Shea? 41-40, 6th worst in the National League. Whether you think he's to blame or not, Tom Glavine dropped the ball in the biggest start of the season. Coming up, Sports Night, when it rolls on, we'll hear from the Met lefty. And lest we forget, it was a football Sunday. All the sights and sounds and analysis from Jets, Bills, and Giants, Eagles, including a record-setting performance from the Big Blue D. We're back after this commercial break.
15 minutes.
It started bad and finished worse. Tom Glavine walked Hanley Ramirez to open the game, then proceeded to surrender 5 hits, a second walk, and a hit batsman. 7 of the 9 men Glavine faced scored. The game and the season slipped away from Glavine and the Mets. Here's Kevin Burkhardt.
The Mets were flying high after Saturday's resounding victory, but that feeling left them in a hurry. With future Hall of Famer Tom Glavine on the mound, things went sour quickly. Glavine got only 1 out, and 7 runs later, the Mets were in a hole they could not recover from.
It's disappointing, you know. We obviously had an opportunity to win this thing, and we let it get away from us. You know, and I'm sure it's something that is going to take a while for all of us to get over.
No excuses. You know, 1 through 25, to me, we're all responsible. We got every chance in the world. We didn't deserve to go, bottom line.
We didn't play well. You know, we didn't put things together. You know, there were some days where we pitched well and we didn't hit, and there were some days, other days when we hit and we didn't pitch well. So, I mean, basically, it was in our hands, and you know, we let us slip away.
You know, we cost ourselves a playoff berth. It wasn't, you know, you give the Phillies a lot of credit. They played well down the stretch, but, I mean, we played beyond horrible. So, you know, we cost ourselves a shot at the playoffs. So I think, you know, this hurts more than last year.
After the game, questions surrounded Glavine on whether or not that would be his last professional start. He said he didn't know, but he also said the outcome of that game would have no effect on his decision in the future. Now the question remains, will the outcome of that game affect the Mets in the future? With the Mets at Shea, Kevin Burkhardt, SNY.
Was it the worst performance of his career? It'll certainly be magnified because of the circumstances. Just the second time Glavine has failed to get out of the first inning, the last time, May of '89. What's next for Glavine and the Mets? Gary, Ron, and Keith weigh in.
You can't make decisions rapidly now. You've got to sit back, let the dust settle. I'm sure Omar Minaya will do that. Take a month and then make decisions on what he wants to do. But this is a stigma that's going to be attached to this team forever. And I think you can't bring a lot of people back. There's got to be some major changes made in this ball club.
And justly so. I think that 12 is going to take a big hit. Willie Randolph, of course, for this. And, you know, listen, you can put your athletes in position to thrive, and sometimes they don't. I think what they're going to have to do upstairs, though, is at some point, like you said, Keith, when the dust settles, how did this happen at the end of the year? What were the things in place that did not come through when they're supposed to come through? Once you get those answers, then you try to make those adjustments.
New York, New York, a 2-team town, and it pains me to say now home to 2 of the biggest collapses in baseball history. The '07 Mets squander a 7-game lead with 17 to go, and back in 2004, the Yankees squandered a 3-0 ALCS lead, losing 4 straight to Boston. How about some football? Sunday night, Giants, Eagles, NFL Hall of Famers Harry Carson, Lawrence Taylor on the sidelines. Giants hosting their division foe. Second quarter, no score. Big Blue driving. 2nd and 6 from the Philly 9. Eli to Plex for the 6th time this year. Extra point good. Giants took a 7-0 lead. Still in the second quarter. Big Blue playing some D. We've seen this before. Michael Strahan wrapping up Donovan McNabb. With that sack, Strahan passes LT as the Giants' all-time sack king, 133.5. Third quarter, Eagles down 10. Ball on the ground. McNabb fumbled it. Kavika Mitchell picked it up. He's going to take it in. Giants missed the extra point but took a 16-0 lead. Fourth quarter, story of this game was D. 4th and 18. O.C. Umenyiora, one of 6 sacks on the night. That's a team record. Big Blue had 12 overall. That ties an NFL record. Giants victorious 16-3. Only one man has posted more sacks in a single game than Umenyiora. The late, great Derek Thomas had 7 for the Chiefs back in 1990. He had a 6-sack game as well 8 years later. Fred Dean did it for the Niners in '83. William Gay, a 5.5-sack game for Detroit that same year. For more, here's Siafa Lewis.
After giving up 80 points in their first 2 games, the Giants defense has responded. Last week they held Washington scoreless in the second half, and on Sunday night they sacked the Eagles' Donovan McNabb an NFL record-tying 12 times, led by O.C. Umenyiora, who set a Giants team record in one game with 6 sacks.
Well, sacks come in bunches, man. I mean, sometimes it just happens like that. As long as you keep on working and keep on putting pressure on the quarterback, I mean, eventually they'll happen for you, man. It was just one of those nights tonight.
It was amazing to get 12 sacks. I mean, that was, I didn't know that was, I wish we had another chance to go out there. Maybe we could have set the record instead of tying it. And O.C. with 6. It was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I've never seen somebody just go get 6 sacks like that and go from last in the league to probably leading the league in sacks in one game.
He did a great job. I mean, to have those kind of numbers and the, you know, the whole front did. I mean, we had pressure from all spots and a lot of contributions with regard to that. So, as I say, it was just an outstanding defensive game. People came up with plays, play after play in critical situations to give us a chance to win the ball game.
Big Blue entered the game with 4 sacks on the season, but thanks to their record-tying NFL performance, quadrupled that total by sacking McNabb on all but one of the Eagles' 12 possessions on the night. At Giants Stadium, Siafa Lewis, SNY.
Ralph